everyone. Welcome to another episode of Living Out Loud. I am your host, Jen Cusumano, and thank you for joining with me here today. This is episode 3 titled My Soul's Journey from Awakening Till Now. And let me just say, I am so grateful to have this platform and to be doing this with you and sharing my journey with you all. And so thank you to everyone who has been listening and following along. So when I say spiritual awakening, what I mean is, when did I become conscious spiritually about who I am or who we are as souls? And when did I have like an awakening experience to where I recognized that things weren't as simple or black and white as the way I was taught growing up with religion, and where I realized that there was a journey to undertake, and I just began being driven or propelled really by my soul along this new journey of discovery. And that's what I think awakening is. It's like you start awakening to truth and to the reality of things. And little by little, you awaken more and more to these truths. And you kind of have, like, sometimes you have ego deaths, and it can be kind of, for some people, it can be really disorienting or really, like, I don't want to say traumatic, but it can be a big shakeup. Your life can have a really big shakeup. But for me, my awakening began, I would have to say, I think honestly that you could argue that that we begin awakening from, quite an early time. Like anytime you grow up with any kind of spiritual tradition or religious tradition, and even certain cultural traditions might have like spiritual concepts and things. And so honestly, as spiritual beings, you could say that we begin awakening probably earlier than we recognize. But I just mean when we become conscious and realize that we are souls, and that we are the consciousness having the thoughts, and that we are observing through our eyes, and that, we're a part of this whole. But it's just like you become aware of that bigger I behind the mind and everything else, observing everything going on. And so for me, my awakening began most palpably in 2012. Wondering when to really start, because I don't want to jump around, but with my ADHD, I that may just end up happening. So you may have to bear with me there on that, but I'm going to try to be as concise as possible. I have some bullet points here to help as well. So I guess you could say it was during a college guided meditation. I decided to go back to school in 2012, that spring semester. I think I had to take like a remedial math class to kind of catch me up, to get me to college, to get me to be at the college level math so that I could proceed, because I was a little behind. And so after taking like that pre-algebra or whatever it was called that spring, I think maybe the next semester. So it was still 2012 though. 2012, that fall. Yeah, it was like August or September of 2012. Where I took Intro to Psych. And I also think I took like an English lit class or something like that. And it was during my Intro to Psychology, that I received a message during a guided meditation that we were given. A student was doing a guided meditation through class as we were, I guess, just doing certain presentations on different psychological topics, and the I think meditation came up. There was like a walking meditation in one. I think maybe one student simply wanted to explore meditation. And so they did like a walking meditation and they did a guided meditation. And I just don't remember if it was like a bigger like component of the class or if it was just that one student who offered these. But regardless, yeah, we did this guided meditation in class. And what happened is we were sitting there in class, that we were closed our eyes, like the lights were dimmed, and they guided us through this visualization where they're like, okay, you're walking along the beach. It's like like they were just saying what the temperature was like and what the sensations felt like, so we could kind of imagine being there, hearing the waves and watching them come back and fro, to and fro, and just enjoying the feeling of the sea breeze and everything else, and seeing someone walking towards us and getting closer and closer as we walk along down the beach. And as they approach us, they have a smile on their face and they greet us and they tell us they have a message for us, and they lean in and they give a message into our ear. And then moments later, we are guided out of the meditation and we are asked if any of us received a message from that person who greeted us on the beach. And I actually did get a message that came through, which was interesting. I just didn't know if I made it up or not. Like, I don't even remember how it happened. I guess just in the moment, I imagine like, they didn't tell me what the person said. They just left that open. But that's the magic of meditation like that. The message I heard in my mind was, you're doing fine. You're almost there. God loves you. And I just thought that was interesting. I was like, did I make that up? Like, in my mind, was I like, what would they say? And did I make it up? But no, it's like your subconscious or spirit, like, will fill in the gap. That's how these things work. It's remarkable. Anywho, he asked the class, like, did anyone get a message? It was either him or the instructor herself. I can't recall. But some of us raised our hands. I was like, did I really? I don't even know. I felt like almost like a charlatan, like, oh my gosh, I don't even know what's going on. But and then we ended up doing a walking meditation outside. We were led outside. We were asked to be mindful and to just observe our body and our breath and look at everything around us and to not talk and to just be very present in our bodies and with how everything felt, each step, each footfall, and to just really be present with it all. And it was really beautiful. And so I was like, okay, this is really neat. There's many forms of meditation. And I was like, I'm going to get a book on this. I'm going to go to like a metaphysical shop and I'm going to get a book on this. And so I went to the metaphysical bookshop in Boothbay Harbor called Enchantments. And the book that I purchased is called How to Meditate by Jyotish Novak. And it was this little blue and greenish colored book with two people sitting with their eyes closed, with their hands on their lap. They're just in meditation pose. And on the back of the book, it talked about how meditation can give you access to and help you develop your intuition. And I read through the book enough, just a few pages, just to kind of skim it. And it was just talking about how like the book was like non-denominational. You can come from any spiritual tradition or religious tradition, and it's not denominational. Like it's not, no one was banned from this. You can kind of come from any path and utilize the techniques provided. And I just thought it was like a small book, and I was just like, okay, this sounds like it would be the ticket. And I just felt called. It had some of my favorite colors, so I just like, I'm buying this. I ended up reading that over the coming months. I think by that winter, by like December or January, I had like gotten quite a ways through it, and I had begun, practicing meditation and the breathing exercises, and so for like, I just remember also that following spring that I was, spring and fall, that I was doing the exercises. And I just keep thinking that was 2012 though. Maybe it was 2013. Yeah, because then later that year in the summer of 2013, I ended up moving to Portland. So yeah, that was that. I guess in my brain, I'm wanting to be accurate in my timeline, so forgive me if I'm pausing. But yes, yeah. I'm just looking at my notes to see if that's helpful. Honestly, maybe it's better to just remember it from memory. But during that time of learning to meditate, I also started realizing that some of what I had been through in my past was traumatic, and that what I was experiencing was like post-traumatic stress symptoms. And I felt like I should begin writing more, like journaling more about who I am and sharing where I was at. And I began doing some of that online on my Facebook notes, because there was like a writing component on Facebook. Like it was like for people who like to write and share their writing, there were these Facebook notes. And I think that since then, Facebook did away with notes, which is really a bit of a shame. I'm not sure if those are actually accessible anymore, which is kind of disappointing, honestly. Years and years ago in high school, I did the free open diary website to record my thoughts and feelings, but I really enjoyed that. But yeah, I did writing in high school and shared it with close friends as an outlet for me as well. So writing has always been a part of my journey. Even as I was a child, I just always felt a strong connection to writing. It's just one of my most natural modes of self-expression. And I've had many teachers and people tell me, like, you're naturally good at expressing yourself through words and through your writing. So I've been encouraged, at least in those ways. And so I've always loved to share, what I've felt called, like, and what I've learned and, what I've felt led to share along my path. Let me see here. I'm just reading my notes. La. Yeah, I might delete some of this. Oh, goodness. So yeah, I went to school. I learned to meditate, and I started having, I guess I'll share some other things, like some of my first intuitive messages. Like when I first was meditating and getting to that space, I was like, well, I want to open up and let any like spirit beings that want to communicate with me come through. Because I had read that some people are able to receive messages from like guides or angels, and I feel like I was also seeing lights or something, like colored lights when I was meditating. And I was just like, I might have even asked like, who are you or whatever. And I just got the gist that they were angels. So I got some brief like inklings or messages from them, which was cool. But it's just this profound peace and stillness. It's like this it's almost like a 0 point, like this neutral space that I don't meditate nearly as often as I once did. And I feel like now that I'm older and it's been so many years since I learned to meditate, I don't know that I experience meditation usually as deeply as I once did. I'd like to see if I can't, rediscover that or get back to that. But if not, I don't want to chase anything. Like I feel like over the years, after learning meditation, I often found myself hoping to have some sort of a spiritual vision, or to connect with some, to have go on a little journey or have something cool happen during a meditation. Because sometimes it would kind of just, manifest or happen, and other times it wouldn't. But honestly, meditation is beautiful for the nervous system and to kind of like push a reset button on your brain and your body and your soul, and it just helps you be able to like take on the day and anything that could come at you. It just gives you like it kind of gives you a buffer energetically and cognizantly, and you just kind of feel like you have more it's like you can respond before reacting more, or just gives you more patience and more of a buffer, and life doesn't vex you as much, and it doesn't if the things and stresses of life don't affect you as strongly when you're meditating. That's something I experienced, and that was what I noted when I was first meditating. So yes, I still do meditate. I often do it to dial up spirit to get messages, and also sometimes I just really need to clear my mind, and I try to tune into my heart, and I don't meditate usually for as long. Once in a blue moon I'll do like a 20-minute, between 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and sometimes as much as like 45 minutes. Like sometimes I just want to keep meditating and meditating because it feels so good. But it's a practice that's really precious and really special and powerful. And it's really wonderful because it does, in fact, open you up to being in connection with God and your guides and angels. And, it helps you be more aware of what it is to be a human. And it's just remarkable as a practice and as a tool. So let me see here. Oh, I meant to say, yes, some of the experiences as I had. So the first one I got that message during that first guided meditation, you're doing fine, you're almost there, God loves you. One of the second messages I think I received was, child of light, do not be afraid, you are not alone. And I was like, but I'm not feeling afraid, I'm feeling lonely. Or something like that. But what was it the message had just said? You're not alone. So funny how we overthink and overanalyze things, and we try to make sense of things, and some of us are like skeptics or critical, and we're quick to try to almost say oh, well, why that was potentially not true, or find fault in something. But it turns out when I stopped, I was like, oh, I might have felt at first that the message wasn't what I needed to hear, but it actually was perfect because I was feeling lonely and I was being told you're not alone. So how beautiful and affirming is that? And then another message I remember getting at one point was I was just like, I just really want to know what to do. I think I was just really bent on having an answer come up for something. And I was just kind of desperate for some insight and I wanted to know what to do. And the message I got through that came through was sometimes the best thing you can do is nothing. And I think I think sometimes we as humans, we want to force, we want to control, we want to know what's happening or what's going to come. And we try to understand or figure it out and force things. But we really need to let go of some of those really left-brained, masculine type ways of being and just rest in okay, God, I'm giving this over to you. I admit I'm kind of really, we can talk to God and say whatever it is we need to say. Hey, I am, having a hard time right now. I really would love an answer. But help me to find stillness and to ground and to find clarity as to what it is I'm experiencing and the why. May your will be done. I think that's the most important thing we can pray is, God, I'm here I'm your child. I am a divine child of God. I am one of the Trinity. There's the divine mother, divine father, and then there's the holy child, the Son of God. Is recognized as one of the Trinity. Well, we are that. We are all sons and daughters of God. We are equal to what Christ was. The difference is that he was a master soul born of a virgin birth, and he didn't sin. And I don't like the word sin, but he was a really one of the most beautiful, if not the most perfect example of what a human can be, a Christed soul embodied, a soul embodying the Christ consciousness and living that out really beautifully. And a lot of traditions will tell you, hey, Jesus wasn't the first, there was Buddha before him. And there will be others after him as well, but he was just this wonderful way shower. And so, yeah, I wanted to pass that on, and I want to wrap my brain around where all that was started. Yes, I got a lot of these beautiful messages, and I find that some of these messages I get from either, from my higher self, my intuition, from angels or my guides, a lot, or it could be even the Holy Spirit. I think a lot of the messages would be in 3 words or it would be like, you're doing fine. You're almost there. God loves you. So 3 sentences or 3 words, like, and then child of light, do not be afraid. You are not alone. So, and sometimes the best thing you can do is nothing. They all had like I feel like they all represented the Trinity, like that 3-part. Maybe that last one, not as much, but to me, it still has that same cadence almost. But anyhow, I've received so many messages. I've learned how to read energy, let me tell you about how that came to be. And so let's see here. After learning to meditate, I went to school. I took a lot of psychological classes. And I really enjoyed being in school. Let me see here. I started my small business in 2016. And when I did so, I realized that I might not need the degree to do the career that I was wanting to do. And there was potential at the time. I was like, I'm not really wanting to complete this semester. I'm just going to go all in on my small business. So which I did. I got a web page up, a Wix website, and I got a business cards, and I got pamphlets and things, and I started putting my name, name into register to vend at holistic fairs. And I decided I would take a break from school. I didn't think I needed a degree in order to do what I wanted to do at the time. I had entered an intimate relationship in 2014. I had moved to Portland in 2013, was there for like 9 months, learned a lot spiritually, had some readings that were telling me you're really intuitive, and I feel that one day you're going to use it and you're going to give readings to people. And I started just reading many, many books on spirituality. One of them was The Lightworker's Way by Doreen Virtue. Another was Discovering Your Psychic Type by Sherry Dillard. Another was an audiobook by Sonia Choquette called Trust Your Vibes. And I got angel cards, and I started working with Oracle angel cards and medicine cards by, I think his name's Jamie Sams. And he's got these native, I don't want to say they're native, but they're it's the Native American medicine wheel tradition. And they have this is one of the readings that I honestly give to clients that is the most special, and I really have found a way to flesh it out and give people so much information about the 7 medicine animals they have on their earth walk, their journey in this lifetime, and how they can apply that to be balanced and grounded and happy and fulfilled, and to feel safe and to heal. I found a really wonderful way, I thought of a really wonderful prompt using all of that, what I just said, and I put it into ChatGPT, and it helped me flesh out a really beautiful way of using the positions of the cards that someone gets when they get a medicine card reading, which animal was in the east, north, south, above, below, positions, all of that. And because each placement has to do with what that animal medicine speaks to for you. And east is your masculine, whereas west is your feminine. And there's just certain ones that are about ancestors, certain ones that are about grounding and nurturing, and so anyway, I'm explaining. I get a little long-winded in my explanations, but I felt really excited. I just knew this must be something I'm meant to do. The amount of excitement and synchronicity that I saw pouring through when I did card readings, it was wild for me. And I started growing more rapidly than I had ever grown in my entire life during 2013. My chakras were starting to come online, and I started feeling them moving, opening, and tingling and expanding. I could just feel it palpably. Every once in a blue moon, I will feel one of them opening or moving, but it's not as often anymore. But at that time I felt it so often. I was like, whoa. Sometimes they would almost like ache or have a pressure, and it was uncomfortable. But yeah, that is part of the spiritual journey. The more conscious you are about who you are and about energy, and you're starting to like become aware of these things and about energy and about spiritual realities, it's like your chakras begin awakening. It's like a spiritual process, like you're a computer and the program is booting up, and you start like getting through certain modules, and as you go, certain other modules and things begin to come online, and you can do the next level, next program and things. So anyway, that's a fun way of like visualizing what it's like. But yeah, with the intimate relationship I was in, I thought it was a twin flame relationship. But even if it wasn't meant to last forever, and I didn't know that, of course. There was like this spiritual epiphany that happened. I entered in that relationship with him in 2014, and then when I had this epiphany. I was just imagining going wedding dress shopping with his mother, because I really liked his mother, and I just kind of felt like she was a cool person, and I could just imagine her coming to a wedding dress shopping experience, and like that actually kind of made sense. It felt like it could be real, like it didn't feel far-fetched, and I was like, that's interesting. So anyway, when I was hanging out with him yet, and we hadn't made our relationship official yet, this was like in June 2024. No, my goodness, good gracious. This was June 2014. Sorry. A decade off. Good gracious. Anyway, we were sitting there together, and I was telling him about this, and he's like, oh, that's interesting. But right when I had said that I could imagine going wedding dress shopping with his mother, and he was just like, oh, well, that's interesting. Or that's, he didn't know what to say, because we weren't even an official couple or anything yet. We were still kind of just getting to know each other. This wave of energy poured over me from my heart, and then like it moved throughout my body, and it was just like this tingly like rush, and I was like, what is happening? I was like laughing, because I was like, I don't know what this is, but it just took me over for a couple minutes, and then once it happened, I'm like, I think that was like an epiphany. I think that was a sign. I think we're meant to date. Like, let's do this. And I hope he didn't think I was crazy at the time, but like after that had passed, he did say, sure, if you want to make this official, let's do this. And so we became Facebook official, blah, blah, blah. And it was one of the most beautiful relationships I've ever been in. The most, like, I don't know, emotionally and mentally satisfying, and spiritually. I was still very, very new in all that stuff, but he was kind of in a similar new spiritual space, but he'd already learned to meditate. And so we just kind of met each other in a really good space. But in the end, through the relationship, he ended up having addiction troubles that cropped back up. He had been clean for like a couple years, and then when we were together, a few years into it, he started having active addiction crop up again, and he was really struggling, and his mental health began to fail, and he wasn't wanting to take his mental health medication that kept him stable, and he spiraled, and he ended up going to a mental hospital for a while, for like 6 weeks or something like that. And when he got out, he was kind of so, but things were a little rocky. And then within 2 or 3 months of that, we ended up splitting up for good. And so we'd been together like 2.5 years, something like that, 2014, and then we split up in the summer of 2016. But anyway, yeah, I'm just looking down at the timer. This will probably be one of the longer episodes, just because, again, a spiritual journey, it encompasses quite a lot of stuff and quite a number of years. So, yeah, I just made that note in my brain. Oh, this is going to be a little bit of a longer episode today. But I love it. I love sharing my journey with people. So what came to my awareness through our relationship kind of imploding and things spiraling and falling apart was like that I was wanting to try to help encourage him or even try to like help fix him or heal him. Like I was just feeling somehow responsible, or like I wanted to push him to do what I felt was the right thing, and to be healthy and to start taking his meds and blah, blah, blah. Like I wanted him to like get well, but I think we had gotten engaged a number of months before, and after that, I think the pressure of that and the reality of that kind of really got to him. And I think underlying fears and insecurities started like kind of festering. And not only that, but his mental, like I said, his addiction had cropped up. And so it's like, it kind of like sabotaged everything really. And I recognized that I had codependency, and these were like codependent patterns. One of my dear friends, Summer, she was just letting me know, hey, some of what you're sharing with me about what's going on with you and Adam, I can see that these are codependent patterns, and I want to offer this book to you. She's like, I'm recovering from codependency myself, and I just figured, this would be really supportive for you, or just let me know if you want, I can't remember the wording. This was so long ago, but when I read it, I realized, oh my goodness, I had never even heard of codependency. And so as our relationship was like kind of in like spiraling, it was kind of my lifeline book, and I was just learning all about it. In the end, we parted ways, and that was that. But I do think if he was a twin flame, that his soul loves me enough that it knew it was going to play a really huge role in my awakening journey and steering me in the direction I needed to be steered in, even though the relationship wasn't going to like be to pan out. It wasn't going to be a forever thing, that it would basically point me to where I needed to grow, and to go within and to heal and show me what needed healing. And so, if it was a twin flame, then maybe it was, but I think a lot of those can be really tumultuous, and one person often ends up being a runner. And I think a lot of people think twin flame relationships are like the be all end all, and like that's why I don't like that ideology within New Age spirituality, because so many people think it sounds like it's the best thing. But honestly, unless you both are at a very high level of awareness and like development on your journey, and you're both in alignment, out the get-go, it's often a really tumultuous connection, really powerful and tumultuous connection. And it's very common for them to not last forever, for a lifetime, like to be a life partner or what have you. So anywho, they often end up being like major catalysts for growth and awareness though. So anywho, in learning about my codependency, I read that book, and then I think I read the majority of the sequel. I think it was like Codependent No More by Melody Beattie, and I read the sequel, or at least most of it, and I continued going to college. After I continued going to college, but I had taken the break because in 2016, in February, I started my small business, Soul's Journey, Reiki, and Intuitive Arts. Because in the recent years from 2014 through 2016, I got my Reiki training, and I completed it in 2016. Yep. I think I completed it in like December 2015 or January 2016. And so, yeah, I started my business. And then in 2020, during the pandemic, I decided I really wanted to take, I'd mentioned this in one of the prior podcast episodes, that I went back to school. The world was going through a lot, and I had some things I really wanted to take for courses that I was just really excited about and inspired about, history of modern art and anthropology. And they were just so good that I loved them to pieces. And then I ended up taking like creative writing and sociology or something, or creative writing and something like that, something to that effect. Anyway, and I realized I only needed 7 more credits to finish my degree at that point. And I said, you know what? screw it. Let's just complete what I started. And then like I said, I only did 2 out of the 3 semesters each year. I'd started in 2020, and then I think I might have done 1 summer semester. No, I guess I just finished at the end of the spring semester. I don't know if I ended up. Anyway, I finished it. So sorry. I finished in August 2022, so I don't know if I did a summer semester that year or if I just ended up getting my my diploma, or whatever you call it. Yeah, I think it's diploma when you get your degree. Yeah, I got my degree. I got my degree in the mail in August, and the course might have wrapped up a little before then. So anyway, it took me 2 years going part-time so that I was able to work, and it wasn't being overloaded with too much all at once. I began to put myself and my business out there a little bit more at holistic fairs, putting myself, in those public spaces more in the ways that felt doable for me, and in the ways that I felt, and there are ways that I feel like I have grown, and I've been led along the way synchronistically by God and my guides over the years. And I've learned so much. I just don't know how to do this in like a nutshell way, or how deep should we go? We're 35 minutes in now. Let's see. That's pretty much where my notes end. So yeah. You know what? I did miss something. It was in 2019. That was right before the pandemic broke out. I decided to sign up for a shamanic practitioner course through a couple, Susan and Chris Marshall of Montville, Maine. They no longer are doing the shamanic journeying training, but they do, as far as I know, but they do their monthly full moon drum circles, and they will offer healings, I think, to clients that are in desperate need, but they're no longer taking on students. They're kind of in a retirement phase now, but it was truly beautiful to be their student. I think it was either, I don't know how many months it was. I think it was like a 2 to 4 month training in 2019. I think it started in the spring or summer and then ended by fall or something, but it was beautiful. It was one of the most expansive, beautiful experiences I've ever had. They have a yurt on their they have a beautiful farmhouse and a farm and a yurt on their own property, and then there's like preserve lands right by their property and woods, and we just connected with the land and with the spirits of the land and our guides. And it's where I learned that I have a blood ancestor who was shamanic, who did shamanic work. And her name is Imelda. And she came through for me. She showed me a Viking longship, and she showed me some Norse runes. And I'd never known, that had never happened before. It's just so beautiful. I can just say that when I talk about it, it's almost a similar feeling like when I speak of Jesus, Yeshua. There are certain things that just hold so much emotion and gravity and importance as to who I am as a soul and what I'm here to do or to share, and to, that's just like my journey. Yeshua Jesus is a Christed being. He showed what it is to be a human being living an alignment with the Christ consciousness, embodying the Christ consciousness. So living a Christed life, and just unconditional love for him as a soul and as a way shower, him and Mary Magdalene and Mother Mary. I actually have a couple cards here. It's funny, I think I did a Mother's Day ceremony with my soul sisters, my 2 besties, a few months back in May, and pulled a couple Mother Mary cards for that. And it's remarkable just how aligned they are with like me and my life right now. So, and it's funny because I had pulled the cards because I really love the iconography, the religious iconography of this deck. Mother Mary started coming through for me a bit back in like 2024. Anyway, that summer, July 2024. And so I was like, if you are a guide of mine, let me know. And if you want me to get this card deck, or if you want me, if you are a guide of mine and I'm meant to connect with you more, let me know. And I saw this card deck on a Mother Mary. Sorry, words are not coming out. That happens sometimes with my neurodivergence. There was a Mother Mary, like Rose Lineage Facebook group, and I decided to add it because a spiritual mentor of mine that I used to attend her women's groups at a metaphysical shop. I used to go to her groups. She was a part of this group, and so I was like, if Marie likes this group, then I want to know more about this group because it sounds like something I want to know more about. And I found this handmade beautiful Mother Mary deck, and I bought it after I saw it on that group post. I felt like it was a sign from Mary. And I know myself to be a part of the Rose lineage. My soul is part of the Rose lineage. The Rose lineage, I think, comes from Venus, and Venus is about like unconditional love and the divine feminine path. The rose is a very sacred divine feminine symbol. It's really pure. It's really powerful. And so a lot of people in past times were of the Rose lineage, and it was just this like a priestesshood or a feminine lineage, a spiritual lineage, and it's really powerful. I resonate with the Rose lineage and the blue rose as well. But anyway, I wanted to read these cards to you because these were, like I said, I took the cards out for the mother ceremony we did for Mother's Day, for healing of any mother wounding in our divine feminine sides. And these messages on the back were so perfect. Here's one of the cards. Beloved child, you are not lost among the multitude. My eye is always on you. The crowded street is in my safekeeping. Each face is known to me. Each face is my beloved. Sorry, I get a little tongue-tied sometimes. And also I went from just riffing and sharing from my brain and then to reading aloud. It's like a different part of the brain. And so I got a little stumbly there. But how beautiful is that? We are beloved children of God. We're not lost among the multitudes. Divine Mother in all of her forms. Mother Mary is one of those forms of Divine Mother God. She says her eye is always on us, and we're not lost in this crowded streets, and we are safe within her keeping. And we're beloved to her. It's just beautiful. And this other one specifically, I just love this message. And for me, I'm like, how this couldn't have been more perfect. I almost feel like she created this card deck, the ladies that did the artwork and did the messages from Mary and wrote them out. Like, I feel like this was for me. You need to spread your wings so you can finally sing. Both near and far, show the world who you truly are. Like, come on now. Come on now. It's so funny that it's not like spread your wings so you can fly. It's so you can sing. It's so much of like the blue ray lineage, the blue ray of Divine Mother. There's like a blue and aqualine ray of Divine Mother consciousness. And those that are of the blue ray are meant to use their throat chakras and their voices and be speakers, teachers, and singers, and use their voice in whatever way they feel inclined and are, called to and desire to. So I am spreading my wings so that I can finally sing, not just fly, but sing. So both near and far show the world who you truly are. And that's what I endeavor to do here with this podcast. And something I stumbled upon, it was in my car. I'm cleaning out my car because in a few days, me and my roomie Sloan, we're going on a road trip to Pennsylvania to stay the night with our friend Alyssa, because we're going to a BTS concert on Sunday the 2nd. So excited. Oh my good gracious. But I found something. I was like going through my car console. I found paper clips. It's funny. Yesterday I was like, do you have any paper clips? She's like, I don't. And it turns out I had a handful in that console, and I went through my trunk and I went through my glove box just to see what was where. So I just have it in my brain where's what. I found this quote that I really had liked, and I think I used to have it pinned in my car, but anyway, I just left it in this little console. Expression creatively rather than drowning in it. My imagination. Laser focus. So I am here to express creatively rather than drowning in my imagination. It's about having laser focus. And that is so important for someone who's neurodivergent. I have ADHD. I'm on the autism spectrum, and there's so many things in this day-to-day world and this life that can distract us and deter us from what we're here to do. And that doesn't mean we need to be constantly doing. Like for me, I am healing from complex trauma, from some family dynamics and wounded parents and some tumult that I grew up with, dysfunction I grew up with at times, which left me with complex trauma. And so, having little tidbits like this that help me focus in to zero in are so important. Expression creatively rather than drowning in my imagination. Laser focus. So what a beautiful reminder for me. Yeah, that I need laser focus. And so that's what I'm endeavoring to do. So as far as my spiritual journey, as I said, it started in 2012. I learned to meditate. I also said, and I didn't share this yet, so forgive me for not, plugging this in at the beginning, but I said a prayer in like 2011 when I went through my divorce. I went through a divorce and I said, God, I knew that whatever plans I had for my life, whatever my ego mind could come up with, that whatever God's will was going to be better. I just had this sense, like, I didn't want to go through the divorce. Like, I didn't want to go through anything like that again. I didn't want another divorce, and I didn't want another experience like that. And I just felt called to I wrote a prayer down. I said a prayer and I wrote it down. And every so often, every few months or every few weeks, I would just keep rereading it. And I was saying, like, God, show me what I'm here to do. Please give me signs. Like, if there's truth outside of religion, if there's truth beyond what I was taught and told to believe, show it to me. Show me where I'm meant to go and what I'm here to do, and I will do it. Show me the way and give me clear signs that I can follow, and I will do it. And that's when I was guided to actually sign up. I kept thinking, like, if when you have repetitive thoughts coming to mind, or just inklings and things that keep, coming up to mind for you, that's often it's either your intuition, or it could be your spirit guides or angels being like, hey, this is an answer to your prayer. Go back to school. And that was what I was getting, like, oh, I want to go back to school. I think that would be kind of neat to get a degree, to, complete my education, my secondary education. So, or post-secondary. Is that what they call college? Post-secondary. And so I followed that answered prayer, those, repetitive thoughts I kept getting. I was like, I should go back to school. And I did. I got my associate's degree in liberal studies with a concentration in English because I adore the English word and I love writing. My focus was mostly on writing, but also it was like a split between writing and English and art. Like, those are the core classes I focused on the most. And I'm so proud of myself that I completed it. And in that process of going back to school is when I learned about meditation. God knew what I needed and where to get it. Like I asked God, show me where the truth is, show me what I need to know. And I ended up within like months of that, going back to signing up for school, and getting back to school, and then learning to meditate, and then getting the book, and then having synchronicities and awakening begin in me, and my chakras opening. And, I began having awareness about how to heal. And in 2014, I was living in Portland, working in Westbrook, I think, Group Mainstream or something it was called. And there was a lady, an RN there, who was doing a training, some sort of like required training of us at that job. And she actually was a Reiki healer. And I had never heard of Reiki until that job. I just really wanted to get out of my parents' house. After my divorce, I lived there for a good little while, until like 2013. I got divorced in 2011, and I ended up living there for a couple years, two and a half years. And I really wanted to spread my wings and get out on my own. And so I kept praying that would happen when and how it was meant. And I ended up, getting a job and moving to Portland and getting roommates and sharing a house there. And learning about Reiki while living in Portland, because there was a Reiki teacher and practitioner who was my trainer at my job there. And somebody was having a migraine and like saying they may have to leave the training because they weren't feeling good. And then they were like, oh, go see Alice and get a healing from her. She could give you Reiki and your headache will go away. I'm like, what is this? What is this magic? I've never heard of this. And so I was curious about it. And I went to her because she had a little break. We had like a pause in the training. And I went to her office and I knocked. I said, do you have a card or any way of contacting you? I'd love to have a Reiki session. I've never heard of it before today. And she gave me her card and I set up an appointment with her. And that was in 2014. And as soon as I had this healing session, I was just I just knew this was remarkable. And it's such a healing, soothing modality, and I could feel the energy pouring through her hands, and her hands weren't even laying on me. Like there were times where her hands were on me, but there were also times where her hands were above my body, but I could feel that energy. And it made an impact on me to the point where I'm like, I want to learn to use this. I want to do this. And at the time I was like, well, maybe this will heal me. Maybe this will fix everything, and I'll, no longer have trauma, and I'll be all better and everything will be great. And that's not the answer. Reiki doesn't fix everything, but it's a beautiful modality and it does help. And it can help open your chakras, open your psychic channels, open your awareness, and help your intuition grow. So it really can help with, with opening those things and helping you anchor into those. So that's my journey. Isn't that funny? What started out with learning to praying that prayer in 2011, going back to school in 2012, learning to meditate, having those personal messages telling me I was on the right path, learning about Reiki, reading books on metaphysical concepts, learning about, who I really am as a soul, and that I'm meant to give readings, I had so many psychic readings saying you're an intuitive and you're meant to use it. You're a healer. You're going to, you can use this. And then eventually, finishing my degree and starting my small business, Soul's Journey Reiki and Intuitive Arts, where I give intuitive painting readings, intuitive guidance and direction for people wanting spiritual direction on their path. I also give card readings, and I give Reiki training and Reiki healing sessions to clients. And I just love what I do. Like if that is what I'm able to do is like my primary source of income, that would be great. But I'd kind of also want it to be like maybe like a third of what I do. I'd like it to be maybe a third of what I do because I want to travel. I want to vlog and share my journey travels and my insights and inklings through my vlogging, and continue this beautiful podcast. For me, it's beautiful. I'm loving the journey and I'm loving the process. So thank you to everyone who's joined and followed along. Let me see if I've missed anything. Yeah. It's nice for me to do like a little chronological, like let's just follow like wrap everything in a nutshell that we've covered today, and to make sure I didn't leave anything out about my awakening journey up till now. It started in 2011, 2012, and now here we are in 2026. You know, and I mean, I was always open to spiritual concepts as a child. I grew up Christian, and I felt what some call the Holy Spirit, like felt, you know, moved by the Spirit of God or the Holy Spirit in my heart. And, like a message was for me, oftentimes during Sunday school or during church services and during work, like hearing, devotional music. I'm grateful for being brought up a Christian, and I love God and Jesus, but I'm really grateful that God navigated me, showed me, like helped me navigate out of religion and showed me what path was my soul's. And let me see here. Okay. Awakening in 2012 after a prayer and asking for God to show me my path. Then I guess awakening, meditation, that led to my awakening, and reading metaphysical books and developing my intuition and opening my chakras and beginning inner healing work, always journaling, always writing about what's coming up for me. Journaling has always been a major thing on my path. Reiki healing has been a major part of my path. Intuitive painting readings and doing my artwork is a huge part of what I do. It's a part of I have Ophiuchus, the 13th zodiac sign Ophiuchus in my 5th house of creative expression and play, and romance and all that. So anything creative and to do with self-expression is deeply healing for me. And so I am honored to share of my soul's truth and of my journey and express like what I've learned and what I'm healing, what I'm working on. Let me think anything else about my awakening that's pertinent before we close. And forgive me if I've bounced around. I'm just trying to be concise here. I'm a thorough girl. I'm a thorough gal. Let me think. Boop, boop, boop. Yeah, my shamanic practitioner course in 2019. I feel like we started like the ascension, like the moving towards the ascension, or like the Earth's ascension started ramping up with the solar flares, specifically. Really, like everything's really started kind of kicking into high gear in like 2016, 2017, but really like much more major ways and palpably like 2022 onward. And so, yeah, the solar flares really started getting huge in like 2022. Again, these are things that have always been, but we're just through a really active solar cycle. And it's a part of this process of the Earth and humanity receiving solar energy and solar plasma that is upgrading our DNA and upgrading the Earth's frequency as well. And we are all evolving and expanding and growing spiritually and energetically, so that we will be able to transition into the higher octave once the great solar flash takes place. So whether you're religious and you think of like the new heaven and the new earth and like the ascension or like the rapture, like I guess in a way that's true. It's just this process is a much more gradual process, and it's like leading up to it. And then when the great solar flash happens, a lot of us are going to phase into that higher reality. But it's not like all these people's clothes are going to like be left behind and like their bodies are going to get sucked up in the sky. I think maybe it's a little too literal of interpretation, but in a lot of ways, what, religion expresses, a lot of it is true. Some of it is true. And then there's also like human error or human distortion as well. And so that's why it's important to develop our intuition and develop that intuitive discernment so that we can know what is true within even the Bible or any tradition, and take what's good and pure and leave behind the rest. So yeah, and as you know from my last episode, I felt called to start this podcast this year. started back in May, and I originally had wanted to write a memoir, and you know what? Maybe give me a few years. If I'm feeling led to, I may begin to flesh that out more. I've got like an outline of like 30 potential chapters if I choose to put it into practice and actually do it. But I just got my vlogging camera and the micro SD card, and I ordered a microphone for it and a tripod, all the equipment. The only thing I need is an external hard drive, and that might have to wait. I might have to get that when I get my income tax returns or something. But I am so excited for this journey. And I'm sure I'm leaving tidbits out, but again, this was a great intro to like my soul's journey from my awakening till now. I know that I'm a Blu-ray being. I know that I'm deeply intuitive and empathic. I am deeply creative. I am an artist soul. I'm here to, like I said earlier, was it in this episode this is the last episode of the origins of living out loud. Like Jesus told me when I dialed him up, like, you're here to do this. I think it's like that song, This Little Light of Mine. We're here to shine, and some of us have gifts, and what we're here to do in this life is to share our gifts. Like, our purpose in life is to find our gifts and to give those gifts away, to share those gifts. And we're also meant to enjoy life and to feel pleasure and to experience joy and to express ourselves and to do what feels good. It's twofold, I guess you could say. We're here to do God's will, but we're also here to feel joy and to create and to share and connect. And those are the things I care most about. Expression creatively rather than drowning in my imagination. It's about laser focus, like getting clear on what it is I want to say and putting it into form. And the form that it's taking is this podcast. So thanks so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoy, and I hope you don't mind my sometimes meandering. I'm loving this process, and stay tuned for episode number 4. It'll probably be airing sometime in August. I do have the BTS trip coming up in a few days. I'm so super excited. And sometime maybe fall or winter onward, I may begin to record these podcast episodes with my video vlogging camera. I just want to kind of acquaint myself with it and experiment with it first. I don't want to feel like I'm rushing into that. And the format I'm doing is working for me right now, and I'm still getting my feet wet and getting my bearings. So thank you so much for listening. I hope you're having a fantastic Sunday and a fantastic summer. Stay hydrated. Take care of yourselves. Spend plenty of time in nature and with loved ones. Go within as necessary. And look at that. It is 144 right now on the clock. Many of us are part of the 144,000. It's a sacred frequency of light workers that are awakened at this time on earth to shine their light, to be the beacons, to share their love and shine their love and light, and to anchor the light on earth during these times of so much tumult and darkness, to help show that, when we anchor the light and embody the light, that's what brings us in alignment with the new heaven and new earth that are being birthed. So thank you so much. Until the next. Bye-bye for now. As a little PS, I wanted to just add this little tidbit that I realized I kind of skipped over in listening over the, I was going to say footage, but it's not a video footage. It's a voice clip. But listening to what I had recorded, I just realized I had skipped over one segment of my awakening journey. In 2015, my ex Adam and I, we found a couple different groups. We joined the Circle of Light at Leapin' Lizards in Freeport, and we learned through that. And we went to a lot of like Reiki shares, and we were like learning about that. And he got Reiki trained as well. I think he got Reiki 1 and 2, or he got at least, I don't know. I think he got Reiki level 1 and 2 from the person that I was trained from. And then I did the rest of the training so that he wouldn't have to pay to get to master level. So anyway, so yeah, we both were Reiki trained, and we like to go to like Reiki shares and community spiritual groups. We both started attending the Spiritualist Church in Augusta, Maine. My Reiki teacher, who I met through my hairdresser, I went to Bubba's hairstyling, and my hairdresser's sister was a Reiki teacher, so she gave me her contact info, and that's the person who ended up training me. So yeah, for a couple of years, 2014 to 2016, I got my training and got my Reiki master teacher training through Becky. And yeah, it was wonderful to be in that learning phase. And in addition to that, we would go to spiritual groups. We went to the Augusta Spiritualist Church. We became members. We would go to Sunday services when we felt like it. It was just really lovely because they were so loving. Like, you'd go there and they'd be like, hey guys, and they'd like have their arms open and they'd give us hugs, and they're just like, we love you. And it was really beautiful to go to a church that was loving, that talked about hands-on healing, that included hands-on healing in their church services. And they had mediumship and spiritual development workshop classes. And like Thursday night, it's not like a Bible study because while occasionally someone might mention scripture, it was mostly non-religious. And they'd have the Thursday night awareness classes, and we would go to those and practice meditation and learning about psychometry and different spiritual concepts. So it was really a nice part of my spiritual growth and connecting with others in our spiritual community. I have a friend named Cynthia that I met through the Spiritualist Church as well. So yeah, it was just a nice time. But the part that I remembered that I missed was during that same time frame, probably sometime in 2015, Adam had gone to Leapin' Lizards and had heard about someone named Lori from Leapin' Lizards, who she worked through there or offered classes through there, and she had these like psychic development classes or something to do with as well as it was like an abundance manifestation group. Anyway, it was something he signed up for and he was just like, let's just go to this. And I was like, okay, sure. I didn't really even know a lot about it. But we went and we plugged in with some people there, and she taught us how to develop our spiritual gifts and like connect with angels and read energy. She taught us to like read each other's energy and to give messages. She's like, just tell me a message, read the energy. And I was like, I don't know how to do it. She's like, just do it. And so I'm like, I just saw a cheeseburger. And she's like, yep, well, I need to buy hamburger after this at the store. Go again. And I was like, whoa. And she'd be like, no, you're filtering. There's times where she could tell like when somebody was filtering something, and it was just neat. She knew her stuff. And so, yeah, for a couple, 2 or 3 years or so, I went through her. I think I got my last reading from her in like, I don't know, what year was it? 2018? Something like that. Yeah. And then in 2021 or 2022, I got a reading from the person who taught her, whose name was Gretchen, is Gretchen. And so, yeah, anyway, I just wanted to mention that I went to like a spiritual awareness group, and I don't know that Lori's doing that work anymore. In fact, she's kind of fallen off the radar and what have you. So I hope that she is well. My intuition says that she's just kind of had some like mental health stuff come up, and like a falling out with her family and some financial downfall and or struggles. And so she's kind of separated from a lot of the people she used to be in touch with. And there was even like a flyer that was online saying she was a missing person for a time, but I did like an intuitive reading on it. And I was like, she's still with us. She's just not wanting to be in touch. And I think a lot of people like will have spiritual awakening and learn a lot of spiritual truth and just grow really rapidly. But if they haven't done the inner healing work to overcome some of the core wounding and trauma, then sometimes it's like spiritually bypassed. by people that just don't like sifting through or doing talk therapy because it's triggering, and it's just like a lot of people don't feel like they can get far with that. But some people really they just haven't done the healing. And so this is just my interpretation as someone who has read books on shadow work in recent years. I've read 2 or 3 different books on it. I've begun my shadow work. I've begun doing active imagination, which is a Jungian psychology practice of working with aspects of my psyche to understand where I'm at on my journey. It's really important to either get therapy or to do that inner healing work so that we can heal those inner child wounds, and we can recognize when certain things are coming up that are patterns so that we can heal them. And again, this isn't a judgment of Lori, by the way. She's wonderful, and she did so well for herself, all using her intuitive gifts. And just, I think sometimes when there's a deep wound, sometimes it will rear its head if things go wrong in life, or things, befall us. And sometimes they can just take us in an entirely different direction. And I just remember going to her group, and that she was saying that she didn't like therapy, and like just talking about it and digging it up, it can create more mess than it's worth. And so I don't think she really was ever able to speak to a therapist that she ever really connected and had a good relationship with. So again, I just felt like it was spiritual bypassing. From what I've learned, a lot of people grow and become very advanced spiritually, but if you haven't done the inner healing work, you kind of bypass without even consciously meaning to. We just think, oh, well, I don't need to. I know. It's like you think it's almost like spiritual narcissism. But again, I'm not calling her a narcissist. It's just what can happen when we skip steps, or when there's healing that hasn't been addressed. It can kind of rear up, and it can cause mental health issues or ego death, and a lot of tumult, like dark nights of the soul. And so I definitely am really grateful for her training, because for a couple years there, we went to her groups. It was like Wednesday or Thursday nights, and we'd pay her a little fee, and we would just practice our stuff. And she was the one who said that I would, when I told her of my gifts, she's like, yeah, you should paint these for people. And so I decided, she's the one who basically kind of helped me come up with the idea of doing intuitive painting. She's like, maybe I should draw these or paint these. And she's like, absolutely. And it was her encouragement, and she's the one who helped me come up with that. And I did my first painting, and I shared it with the group, and she's like, now you need to interpret what these symbols mean. And she's like, that will be what you do. You need to know what these symbols mean. So you're gonna have to discern, what is it? Find out, what's my term? I will need to, I do a write-up which talks about the interpretation, my interpretation. She's like, you're gonna need to interpret these for your clients and customers. So anyway, I'm truly grateful for Lori Ivers and her training. I don't think she's doing this work anymore. I know she lost her house, and I know for a while there were like loved ones that had said she was missing. My intuitive compass says that she is still like alive. It's just that she's no longer in good relationship with her son. And I think certain people in her family were worried about her, and she maybe went through like a bit of a mental health break, and decided to break contact with them. And so I don't know if anything has changed, and I hope for her sake it has, because she's a wonderful woman and definitely really gifted intuitive. But it's definitely very important for us to recognize that the spiritual journey isn't just sunshine and rainbows and positive stuff. Sometimes we have to do a lot of, processing and doing gentle healing work as much as we can. And some of it isn't gentle. Shadow work isn't fun, but it's necessary. We just all have to recognize we all have light and dark within us, and they all are part of what makes us us. And if we're not willing to acknowledge our shadow traits, then we are bypassing it, and that can lead to spiritual narcissism and spiritual bypassing. So definitely key things to be mindful of and to be careful for. 1044. What a sign to end on. That this clip just was 10 minutes 44 seconds. So I love that. And sending you all lots of love. Thanks for listening. Until the next episode, number 4. Take care.